It was a scorching summer evening in Paris. For weeks, a relentless heat wave had left the city almost deserted, and the halls of the Louvre were unusually quiet. But while the city slept, one man saw the perfect chance to strike. That night, he carried out one of the boldest thefts in history, stealing the Mona Lisa and vanishing without a trace. The crime sparked a global investigation that lasted 2 years, filled with twists, false leads, and celebrity suspects. Eventually, it all unraveled because of a single anonymous letter. In this video, we'll show you exactly how it happened, how the thief almost got away with it, and how the full story only came to light decades later. Act 1. The Inside Job. On that quiet Sunday evening as the last visitors exited the Louvre, a man in a white uniform, the same worn by museum staff, slipped in unnoticed. He wandered the halls briefly, then quietly slipped into a small supply closet. There, he hid and waited all night. The next day, the museum was closed, meaning only a handful of staff would be inside. It was the perfect window. At exactly 7:15 a.m., the man stepped out of the closet and moved quickly through the empty corridors. He entered the Salon Carré, where the Mona Lisa hung, not in a special gallery, but on an ordinary wall. At the time, it wasn't considered the most famous painting in the world, but the events of that day would change that forever. The man removed the artwork from its mounting, carried it to a nearby stairwell, and carefully removed it from its protective case using a screwdriver. He wrapped it in a white cloth, headed to an exit, and ran into a problem. The door was locked. Just then, a plumber appeared. Thinking the man was a fellow employee, he kindly opened the door for him. And with that, the thief disappeared into the streets of Paris, the Mona Lisa under his arm. Act 2. The Discovery. The theft took minutes, but it was nearly 28 hours before anyone noticed. Because photographers had been moving art around that week to document it, an empty spot on the wall wasn't immediately suspicious. But when the Mona Lisa wasn't returned the next morning, alarms were raised. Police rushed to the scene. France was in shock. One of its most treasured artworks had vanished. The only clue left behind? An empty frame and a single fingerprint. Act 3. The Global Frenzy. The news exploded across the world. Newspapers offered huge rewards. Tips poured in from every direction. Some claimed the painting was on a train to Belgium. Others swore it had been smuggled onto a ship bound for America. 2 witnesses claimed they saw someone leaving the museum with a large wrapped object, but their descriptions didn't match. Then came a shocking accusation. The famous artist Pablo Picasso was arrested after it was discovered he had previously bought stolen statues from the Louvre. The statues were real, and Picasso had used them in his work. Still, there was no link to the Mona Lisa, and he was released. Another suspect emerged, the American banker J.P. Morgan. He was rumored to have commissioned the theft as part of a scheme to collect stolen masterpieces. Authorities searched ships arriving in New York but found nothing. After 2 years, the trail went cold. The Mona Lisa had simply vanished. Act 4. Hidden in plain sight. The truth? The painting never left Paris. It had been hidden in a modest apartment just 2 miles from the Louvre. The thief was Vincenzo Peruggia, a 29-year-old Italian who had once worked at the museum as a handyman. He knew its layout, its weak points, and its security systems. He even helped build the Mona Lisa's protective case, the one he dismantled so easily. After the theft, he stored the painting in a trunk with a false bottom. Police visited his apartment twice during the investigation but never searched thoroughly. Even more astonishing, Peruggia had a criminal record and his fingerprints were on file, but only his right hand. The print on the frame came from his left, so no match was made. He had pulled off one of the simplest but most successful heists in modern history. But after 2 years, he grew restless. Act 5. The Return. Eventually, Peruggia reached out to an art dealer in Florence, the city where Leonardo da Vinci had painted the Mona Lisa. In a letter signed only as Leonardo, he claimed to have the original painting, and said he wanted to return it to its rightful home in Italy. The dealer and his colleague met him in a hotel room. Perugia opened the trunk, and there it was, the real Mona Lisa. The dealers asked to take it back to their gallery to verify its authenticity, assuring him that he'd be rewarded. But instead, they called the police. Perugia was arrested that same day. He served just 7 months in prison and died 10 years later. Act 6. The Bigger Conspiracy. The case was closed, but years later, a much deeper story came to light. In 1932, a journalist named Carl Decker published an article claiming that Perugia wasn't acting alone. The real mastermind, he said, was Eduardo de Valfierno, a professional art forger. Valfierno's plan was clever. He commissioned 6 perfect replicas of the Mona Lisa, shipped them to America, and then hired Perugia to steal the original. Once news broke that the real Mona Lisa was missing, he sold the fakes to rich collectors who believed they were buying the stolen masterpiece. The heist wasn't just a theft, it was a con. And the payoff? Equivalent to $90 million in today's money. Meanwhile, the real Mona Lisa made its way back to the Louvre and became the most famous painting in the world. Thanks to a janitor-turned-thief and an international web of forgery and deception, the Mona Lisa became a household name. Not just because of who painted it, but because of how close the world came to losing it forever.